You ever get that feeling that your English is, grammatically correct, but it just sounds a little stiff? Well, today we are going to unlock one simple tip that will instantly make your sentences sound so much smoother, way more natural, kind of like a native speaker.
All right, let's just compare two sentences. First up, that is the girl who I met on Friday night. Okay, now listen to this one. That is the girl I met on Friday night. I mean, they're both technically correct, right? But which one just sounds better? The second one, for sure. It just flows. So the big question is, why?
Well, the secret is surprisingly simple. It's all about knowing exactly when you can get rid of these tiny little words like who or that. The funny thing is, native speakers do this all the time without even thinking about it, and now you're going to learn the rule behind the magic. Okay, but before we get to the really cool trick, we've got to lay down a little bit of foundation first. It all starts with something called a relative clause. And hey, don't worry, it sounds way more complicated than it actually is. So let's start with two perfectly fine but separate sentences. First, I work for a company, and second, it makes clothes. Simple enough, right? But if you say it like that, it can feel a little choppy.
So to make things a little more efficient, a little smoother, we combine them. And what we get is, I work for a company that makes clothes. See that part, that makes clothes? It's like a bridge connecting our two ideas into one single flowing sentence.
And that's literally it. That little phrase is what we call a relative clause. It's just a connector that joins two sentences, and it usually kicks off with a relative pronoun, words like who or that. Okay, now that we've got that down, let's get to the real pro tip.
All right, this is the core of it all right here. I like to think of this rule as having a green light and a red light. It tells you exactly when you can go and when you have to stop.
So first up, here's the green light. You absolutely can, and you know what, you probably should, drop the relative pronoun if the very next word is another pronoun. Words like I, you, she, he, or even someone's name.
Let's see this thing in action. Take the phrase, the company that I work for. So what's the word that comes right after that? It's I. That's a pronoun. And boom, that's our green light. We can just drop the that, and the sentence becomes so much cleaner. The company I work for makes clothes. Sounds perfect, right?
But there's also a red light. This is when you must stop and keep the pronoun. And this happens if the word that comes right after it is a verb. Action words like makes, can, is, likes, and so on.
So let's look at our red light example again. I work for a company that makes clothes. What comes right after that? The verb, makes. That's a red light. So you absolutely cannot drop the that. If you say, I work for a company that makes clothes, yeah, that just sounds wrong. It doesn't work. The key is always checking that very next word.
All right, so you've got the rules. Green light, red light. Now let's see how it feels in action. I'm going to show you a few sentences with a blank space in them. Your job? Decide, do we need a pronoun or no pronoun? Okay, first one. He's a very muscular guy, can lift 200 kilograms. What do you think? What goes in that blank space? Do we need a pronoun or can we leave it empty?
And the answer is, you need who or that. But why? Because the word right after the gap is can lift, and that's a verb. That's our red light rule, so you've got to keep the pronoun in there.
Okay, how about this one? The woman I met online is clever. Take a look at the word after the blank. Is it a green light or a red light?
For this one, you need absolutely nothing. No pronoun. The word after the gap is I, which is a pronoun. That is a clear green light. The woman I met online is clever. See? Just sounds so much smoother.
All right, let's do one more just to make sure this really sticks. The website I visited was excellent. What's the call? Pronoun or no pronoun?
You got it. It's another green light. Because the pronoun I comes right after that space, we can just drop that or which. The website I visited was excellent. See? You are definitely getting the hang of this.
So what have we learned here? I want you to see this as more than just some dusty old grammar rule. Think of it as a practical tool, kind of like a communication superpower that you can start using like right now. So let's just do a quick recap of the whole pro tip. First, remember a relative clause just combines two sentences. Then, you've got the green light, you can drop the pronoun who or that if it's followed by another pronoun or a name. And the red light, you've got to keep the pronoun if it's followed by a verb. And the whole point of all this, to make your sentences sound more natural. And please, remember this. The goal here isn't to memorize a bunch of rules for a test. It's to really internalize them so you can communicate your ideas more clearly and with a lot more confidence. It really is a tool for better connection.
And when you boil it all down, it really comes down to this one simple check. What's the next word? That's it. Mastering just this one single idea is a huge step towards getting that natural, effortless flow in your English.
So, I'm going to leave you with a question. Now that you're in on the secret of sentence streamlining, where do you think you're going to hear it first? Maybe in a movie, a song you're listening to, or just a conversation you overhear? Start listening for it. I think you'll be pretty surprised how often you start to hear what isn't even there.